Hey everyone, good morning and good evening. Let's start with today's topic and let's see what we're doing today. Okay, so yesterday we spoke about the different type of process what we have in Azure. We spoke about Agile, we spoke about Scrum, we spoke about Basic and CMMI. Okay. And even we have created a new project, DevSecOps, which was based on Agile. So let's confirm if it is Agile. Yep, this is Agile. Okay, once you are done, like once you set up the process, you cannot change it later. That is we all are aware of, correct? So this is the process which we have set. Now let's talk about, we spoke about Epic. Where's the notepad? We spoke about Epic feature and things like that. Now let's go and start creating this Epic and feature once. Later we'll do the migration. I have a bunch of data already created which I will export it directly to my work item. Okay, so let's go and create an Epic. This is what Epic is all about. So this backlogs and all, again I'm reiterating guys, this will be created by Scrum Master. But in case you get a chance to create all this, so this is how it will be created. You can give the title, so I have the title over here. So product page module, this is something, the first Epic which we will be creating. If you want to assign this to someone, you can assign it to, so basically this will be assigned to the product owner or the Scrum Master himself, not to the developers. So if you want to assign, you can simply assign it from here. Okay, so I'm the only person in this group right now, so that's the reason you're getting only my name. Okay, so let me save this. So if you see the first Epic, so this is the first Epic which I have created, so the numbering is given. Tagging, this is important. So if you want to tag something, like if you want, this Epic is used for development, backlog and things like that, so you can tag it the way, so you can tag it with the name backlogs, something like this. So this tag, using these tags, you can filter out this Epic. So when you have a bunch of Epic and bunch of backlogs created in real time, then all these tags comes very handy to filter out things. Okay, so I'll show you the importance of filtering things using these backlogs, using these tags. Now if you say the state and the reason, the state and reason is directly proportional guys. If you make any changes to the state, the region will reason will also change. If you see this, implementation started. So if you start working on this Epic, you put it in active mode and your implementation starts. And when you change it to resolve, see this feature completed. So you have completed this module page, that means. And when you change it to close, acceptance testing passed. And when you change it to removed, remove from the backlog. So these are the three states, four states which you will come across when you're working with Epic. Areas and iteration, this is something I'll talk in a bit. For now, just leave it. Description is basically, it should be a very detailed description about what exactly you're doing in this page module, what all sub modules you'll be creating. So this is complete interaction which you have done with your client. Those information should come in this description tab. It should not be one-liner guys, because there could be multiple epics which you will be creating in future, and there could be a possibility that you might pick this Epic after 6 months down the line. So after 6 months you will not remember anything, whatever interaction you had with the client. So if you have a proper description, then it makes your life more easier. And if you need any more update on that, then you can reach out to client. So it's not that you will go completely blank and tell them, okay, you wanted to create a product page module, what exactly it is. No, that is a wrong impression, correct? So it's better to go with some preparation if you have the description, proper description in your Epic. Okay, this discussion tab is more like the comment comment box what you see in Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all, wherein if you want to highlight someone, you can just highlight with the @ sign. Okay, so this is more like a discussion within your team members, with your client, with your stakeholders, with your product owner, or with your scrum master. So if you want to highlight something, if you want to say something to someone, this is how the discussion will take care in this. As soon as I put something, an email will be triggered and an email will be sent to this person. Okay, so if I go and check my email, I would have received an email with blank email. I have not written anything basically. Okay, so this is the 2 tabs. So this epic is divided into 3 categories. One is description and discussion, the other one is the planning, the last one is where your actual deployment, development and the related work items are stored. Okay, so let's go ahead. And planning section is very important. This is the place where you can set the priorities. So there are priorities starting from 1 till 4. 1 is basically, if you're setting a priority as 1, this is kind of a very emergency change which you're talking about. But one suggestion, this is we are doing development, correct? This is my development activities, what we are doing. This is something will be done in future. So 1 is not necessarily you'll be selecting 1 as a priority. Okay, so basically you'll be selecting 2 if it's this module needs to be completed as soon as possible, then the priority should be 2. Okay, 1 we are talking about ECR, emergency change, wherein you have to do it now itself. Okay, so that is that kind of thing we are talking about if we set this as 1. In development we don't have 1. 1 is more like if you have any production related issues which is coming across, which is impacting the client, then at that time we'll select 1. 2 is basically is used for development purpose, and if it is least important, you can go with 3 and 4 also. That is a priority which you can select. Risk, again, if based on priority, your risk will be defined. Okay, now it will be medium risk, and based on priority, if you're selecting as 1, then you have to go and select risk as high also over here. Okay, efforts, this is the number of hours will be taken to complete this module. Who will decide this? Definitely you'll not decide. Scrum Master, Product Owner, they will be in the better position to decide when exactly this module will be completed. Then you got business values, if you want to add some values. Time criticality, start date and a target date, if you want to have some start date, and like you want to start this module from 20th and you have a target to complete this module somewhere in April 30th. Such start date and end date, if you want to add, you can add it. And you will have classification like architectural and business. Okay, now all these fields what you see, these fields can be customized, guys. Later in this course I'll show you how do we customize these fields. Like based on your project requirement, you may need some other fields also in this epic. Yeah, that is possible. Or you may need to remove some existing fields which is not in use. So this complete flow what you see, the complete discussion and all these tabs what you see, you can customize these tabs based on your requirement. Later I'll show you how do we customize it. For now let's focus on whatever we get by default. Okay, keep that in mind. Now if you go in extreme right, you see something like deployment and development. Deployment is basically whatever build and release you do, all that status will start it will start popping up over here. So whatever your build status is, whatever your release status is, everything will start popping up over here. So basically what will happen, you can track from one single screen, you can track everything. So if anyone opens your epic, they can see what are the related work items, what are the related release pipelines which is getting executed for this epic. Let me tell you, all this deployment and development will be more relevant with user stories, not with epic, because an epic will have 100 of other user stories, and user story is something a developer would be working on, or a DevOps engineer would be working on. So all this information, the deployment, development will be more relevant when we work with user story, and at that time we'll be linking that. So this is just a good to know information. I'll show you the importance of this deployment and development when we start creating user stories and when we start linking things. So as I said earlier, that anything you do in Azure DevOps, everything should be linked with work item. So mostly I'm talking about, when I say linked with work item, I'm talking about user stories, because that is something you will be working, that is something will be assigned to you, and that user story should be linked with everything whatever you do. With that user story, if you're doing a simple commit also, then also the work item should be linked. Remember the Git policies wherein there was a tab link work item. Okay, so that should be enabled every point of time, because whatever you do in Azure DevOps, you need to keep a track what exactly you did, and if anyone opening your user story, they will come to know what exactly you did. Okay, and without linking your user story, you should not allow anyone to do anything. Even that is possible with Azure DevOps. Okay, so this is where if you start linking everything, then this is where your status will start popping up. Same goes with your development. You can link your branch, the temporary branch what the developer creates, they can link it over here, and when they create a PR to develop branch, then automatically those PR will also start popping up over here. Okay, so when anyone opens this epic or anyone opens the user story, they will come to know how many PRs you have created, how many branches you have created, how many commits you did. Everything will start popping up over here. Okay, so this is very important. Deployment and development is very important. If any, like your Scrum Master or your product owner, they are viewing your user stories, then they can easily see what all things you have done, basically. So basically this is for tracking. Okay, just keep that in mind. Now the related work item. So related work item, so what is related work item? So for this epic, we got something related work item as child product page, men product page, women product page. These are all related work items, correct? These are features. So can we create this? Yes, definitely. I can just click on add new work item, and this is, I can create a link child, and I can have feature created, something like this. See this, we got a feature 2 created. Again the same set of things, you will have active, implementation started, all this the same set of things. If you want to have some kind of tags, you can have development tag over here. Okay, and save and close it. So if you go and look into your work items, you will see 2 items now. You will have your epic, and then you got your feature created. Now if you go inside the feature, it has same set of information, no changes. Now you can see the history over here, guys. This is basically giving you the history, who has done what, when was the change made, when was the comment made, who did when. All this information will be, see, I have changed the region from new to implementation started. All this will be visible over here. Okay, so anyone is making any changes, then this will be visible right in this place. And if you see, there is a link got created. What exactly this link is? It's a parent and child link which got created. So if you click over here, it will take you to the parent epic, and you can even have attachments over here. If you want to have some attachments related to this feature, any white paper which you got from the client, then that is something you can keep it over here. Okay, same way, now this feature will have one more child, correct? What child it will have? This feature will have something called as a user story, correct? A backlog. Child product page will have user stories, something like this, which will be assigned to the developers. So we'll have something called user stories. Again, this user story is a child to this feature which you have created. So why exactly I'm creating this way? I'm showing you the relations, guys. I'm showing you the relation between the epic, the feature. The epic will have n number of features, the feature will have n number of user stories, the user story will have n number of tasks. So this is the parent-child relationship. So the user story which you create, it's a child of feature. The feature which you have created, it's a child of epic. So basically user story is a grandchild of epic. So that's a relation which is getting created right now. Okay, so this is how the relation should be. Whenever you're creating a work item, it should be related. Okay, what it should be related with each other. Okay, now when you open this user story, this is what you see. The state and reason will change over here. Now if you have active, implementation started, resolve, code completed, and unit test passed. So this is basically your developer is working. This is the user story which will be created by the Scrum Master and will be assigned to the developer. Now he will be assigning to the developer. Now same goes with if you closed, then accept and testing pass. If you remove it, remove from the backlog. If you want to change this region and if you want to add some more state, even that is possible. That is something we'll talk about later. For now, let's focus on active and all. Now in this user story, you see one more field called acceptance criteria. This acceptance criteria will be filled by Scrum Master. Like designing child product page, what will be the acceptance criteria? Like the page should have a filter option. The page should have a age group filtration, like for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, for toddlers, infant, all this segregation. So all this requirement, whatever requirement the client has given, the Scrum Master should give it in the acceptance criteria that all these things are needed. Without this features, without these options, your design will not be accepted. So this acceptance criteria needs to be defined very thoroughly over here. Who will be defining it? The Scrum Master. Okay, now one important part over here is the story points. Remember I have spoke about story points, like the Scrum Master will ask you how many story points do you need to complete this task. The story point is eventually asking you how many days you will need to complete this user story. So you have to give a specific date. Hypothetically dates you have to provide, like you said, 3 days you will take to complete this story point. Okay, my keyboard is not working. Great. 3 days you can say I will take 3 days to complete this task. Give me one. Okay, just forget about it. Okay, then you can set the priority. This priority in user story, the priority could be 1, guys, because there could be a great chance that you might be working on some emergency change using a user story. So yeah, if you're working on anything as such, so in user story you can definitely come across priority 1. Okay, so for now I'll keep it. I'm just taking this as a development, not an emergency change, so I'll keep it as priority 2. Okay, so this is very important. And one very important point over here is when you go and create a child relation, a task, a user story, child is task. When you create this task, like what exactly you're doing. So in this task, like suppose you're taking a task, doing an R&D for 2 hours for understanding what exactly this requirement is. You're doing all sort of R&D. Very important over here is estimate efforts. Now why I'm focusing more on this user story and task, it's because you will be working on user stories. Even as a DevOps engineer, if there's any user story is getting assigned, you will be working on this user story, you will be managing this user story, and you will be creating this task for yourself. Like if you have selected 3 story points for yourself in a day, what all things you did, you need to have a estimate of it. Now I'm saying that I'll do R&D. Original estimate I have given as 4. Okay, so I'll just tag it as R&D. Okay, original estimate I'm giving as 4. I've made it as active. Now I started working on it. Okay, now I'm done with my R&D and I have completed the R&D within 2 hours. I have still remaining 2 hours. So you have to mention this. These numbers are very important, guys. Down the line, when the sprint or when the iteration is over, then these are the numbers which comes handy. Your Scrum Master will fetch all these numbers, and these numbers will be displayed in front of everyone. Okay, based on this, your number of working hours will be calculated. So this is very important numbers which you have to put in when you're working with any user story. You need to make sure that you create as much of task you can. Whatever you're working, that should be part of your task. If you're doing something else, like you're working on designing and suddenly you started helping some other person, make sure you mention that also. Okay, because in 8 hours, if you're just mentioning 4 hours, where is your other 4 hours? So that means everyone will consider this that you were sitting idle at that time, that point of time. So this numberings are very important, so keep this in mind. Okay, now this is how the child relation will happen. Now using this using this task, if you want to go back to your user story, you can click over here. Using this user story, if you want to go back to your child, now see this, there's a child and the parent. I'm in the user story. This user story belongs to this parent, and this user story has this child. If you want to go to the parent, you can go it. This is how the linking is happening right now. In this way, you can reach till the epic. Okay, now if I go back to my work items, there are in total of 4 work items which we have created. Okay, now I can go and create all those epics, and I can have the backlogs created, but this is very time consuming. So what best we can do, I do have a data, an Excel. How exactly that Excel was created, I'll show you later. For now, I do have a data. Let me copy this on desktop. This is Excel was created by running a query. So when I'll teach you about query, you'll come to know how this Excel was created. For now, this is, I do have around 36 epic, feature, user stories, tasks. There's multiple data I have right now. This is something I'll go and import it to my existing work item. What I can do, how do I import it? So this data, what you see, this is from my different project. I already had all this work items created in that project, so I just fetched this CSV from there. Now I'm just importing it over here. Okay, I can import. There are multiple ways of importing. If you see at the top, there's an option of import work items. So I just click on that. It accepts CSV file. So I do have a CSV file. So I'll just go and access the CSV file. CSV file is nothing but it's a comma separated version. See, now wherever you see this exclamation, there is a error. So the error is the state. So this is the first time you are importing the data, so you need to make sure that the state is new. You cannot import closed data, that's why you're getting the error. Save it. So wherever you see this error, make sure go and change it. Save it. I am more interested in this user story, so I'll just get this user stories. The identity value. Okay, this person also needs to be removed. The devopsmela. That's the reason. Okay, this user devopsmela is not there. That's why I was getting that error. Even the epic was not fixed, so I'll have to remove this users, guys. Okay, so all this information, because this user is there in my different project, this state was closed in my different project. So if you want everything on your local, then all this exclamation errors what you see, you need to go and fix it manually. This is manually, you have to do it. There's no other option. And why exactly we need all this data? Because we need to learn about queries and different part. So this is required. We need a good amount of data to work with. Without this data you cannot do much in this work item. Okay, where is user stories? I'll just fix few. So basically you can migrate the entire thing as it is from your other project to this project. If you want the relationship to be created, even that is possible. So even that can be done. Because if you're migrating data, relationship is very important, guys. So if you want to maintain the relationship, even that is possible. Hence I'm just adding the task as well. Done. Is all my user story done? Let's have some features also. And wherever you don't see any error, that means it will get migrated very easily. Okay, forget about it. Whatever exclamation you see, if you're not fixing it, it will not be migrated. But for now, this much is it. This is okay. And this is all the errors which we have not fixed it. That's okay. If I go to my work items, leave. You see all the datas now. So whatever error you have not fixed it, those didn't copy, but whatever error you have fixed it, everything got copied. We got 3 epics, we got bugs, we got features. And do you see this sign, this crown sign? This is epic. This is a bug sign, it's a bug. This is a cup, it's a feature. If you want to change this animations, even that is possible. So I'll show you how exactly we do that later. And this is user stories what you have created. Okay, this is how you will be importing existing user stories, existing work items from any of the project onto your current project. Okay, how exactly that CSV was created, that is something I'll talk about when we talk about queries. Okay, now this was your work item which got imported, so we have good amount of work items now. Let's go back to boards. Okay, before boards, we didn't talk about iterations and we didn't talk about path. Okay, now whenever you go to any of this, there is something called as areas and there is something called as iterations. Okay, this is area is the area, so you can create your own area. Now what exactly this area is, nothing but it's a segregation what you want to do. Like you will have user story for your production, you will have user story for your development, you will have user story for your QA and things like that. So you can segregate your user story based on areas. Okay, now how do you do it? You can go to the project settings, and in the project setting there's an option of boards. In the board there's an option of project configuration. Now this is where you can select your iteration, and this is the place wherein you can select areas. Now this is my project, DevSecOps -1. This is my project, and this project as if now doesn't have any areas. So you can think of this project as a root directory. Now this root directory doesn't have any subfolder, and if you want to create subfolder, you can simply click on new child and you can name it as production. So all your production related data will user story work items will come into production. And if you want something else, you can even have development, you can even have testing. So whatever segregation you want to do based on your requirement, you can put it over here. And if you want to create sub areas, like under production, if you want to create something like what you will create pre-stage or something like this, whatever you want to create, so you can have something like this also. That's kind of a sub area what you're creating. Okay, iteration. Now this is the place wherein you will define how big iteration you want to follow, whether you want to follow 2 weeks iteration, 4 week iteration, 8 week iteration, that numbers will come over here. Okay, Now you can put a start date of your project. So your project is, suppose you're starting the project on Monday, and this project is quite a big project because we are using Agile. So let's imagine this project will get over on 30th April 2024. Save. Now you want to have 2 weeks of iteration. Now in the Monday your first iteration will start, and this iteration will get over on, so your 2 week will end on 6th. That means will be on 5th. So this is the 2 week iteration which we have selected. Same way, when the next iteration will start, your start date will start automatically from 6th, and it will automatically it will take the end date also. You can even have the same thing done, start date, end date, and if you want to select any iteration location, you can do it. For now, does. So this is how your iteration. Now once you have more iterations, you can have new child created, iteration name, iteration 4, and this is how you will be, the dates will be selected. And in between the iteration, if you want some child iteration, some sub iteration to be done, you can have something like, in between this iteration, name it as small iteration. You want to take a 2 days iteration for doing something. It could be a bug fix, or you want to work on some issues or something like this. So on this you want to take a small iteration of this much date. See, so this is how you will be setting up iterations, and this is how you will be setting up areas. Now how you will replicate this thing on your user stories and everything, let's go and see it. Now let's select this user story. Now this is where you can, so this is for development, so I'll go and select area as development, and I want to do this user story in iteration 1. Select, done. Perfect. This is how. Now this user story needs to be completed in iteration 1. What is the iteration 1 dates? You can go and check in your project configuration. Now if you come to boards, this is more similar to your Kanban board, guys. The only difference is this will give you complete view of your user stories. So it is all your complete user story except the one which you have set as, area. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me set area for everything. Filter out this. Let me go and set area. Let me put this in iteration 2. Set random areas. I'll show you the difference, what will happen. In this iteration 3, testing. Production. Okay, so the reason I have set all the areas and iteration is, when you go to the boards now, you don't see it. The only user story you see wherein you have not set the area and you have not set the iteration. Why exactly is this? So this is because by default this board will only go and view the root folder, that is your DevSecOps. That information it will go and show you. It will not show you any sub pages. That is by default. Same if you want to view your features, you can see the features. You can see all the features because we have not set any areas to that features yet. Okay, but suppose if I go and set the feature for this user story, area for this, even this will be gone. See, gone. So how do we get this fixed? So this can be fixed again going back to your project settings, project configuration, areas, not over here. Let's go to your team configuration, go to areas, and if you see the default area is set over here, click on this 3 and include sub areas. Now when you include sub areas, and if you come back to your boards, now you can see all your user stories. So whenever you come across any such situation wherein you are not able to view your user stories in this board section, make sure to go and include the sub areas. Okay. Now this thing what you see, this is more of your Kanban board. So as soon as you start working on your things, user stories, this will start moving from left to right. See, the status is getting changed. This is how it will be start moving from left to right once you start working on it. Okay. Now what did I say in the Kanban, that whatever work you take at the start, at the end of the day the work should be completed, and in case of iteration, whatever work you took at the start of the iteration, that needs to be completed at the end of the iteration. But over here everything is getting populated. So this board is not for tracking your iteration, guys. This will populate all your user stories basically. So this board is basically used for user story, but if you want to view a few features, even that is possible. But if you ask me, this is mostly relevant for viewing your user stories. If you want to view epic, even that is possible. You just have to click on this gear icon and come down the backlogs, select epic. So this is not a place to view epics and all, guys, but just for your understanding, if you want to view epic, you can view epic also. This is more for user stories. Just keep that in mind. This board is more for your user stories. Okay. Plus, if you want to highlight there are other features you can add. If you want to highlight few things, you can even use this gear icon. You can make use of tag colors. Like you want to development should be in yellow, your testing, your R&D should be in red, your backlog should be in green, anything as such. If you want to select, refresh this, see this, the coloring. Now from a distance itself you can see which all user story belongs to development, which all user story belongs to R&D and things like that. So this is again a very important feature. If you want to add some new tabs over here, you can add it. You can have swim lanes added, columns added. If you want to add some swim lanes, you can add a swim lane over here, like QA test, something like this. So you'll have QA test. If any user story is awaiting QA testing, you can put it in over here. This is how you can also play around. So there are n number of modification and changes you can do. So this is how you can go and play around with it. Analytics is more of a diagram, a cumulative flow diagram which will be created, which will give you a better understanding what's happening with your user story. So you got 1 closed, you got this yellow is 3 resolved, and there are 3 in active mode. And if you want this diagram to be populated on your dashboard, you can easily do it. Copy to dashboard. We have a dashboard. Remember, we have created a dashboard. Now this gets populated on your dashboard also. Now if you go to your dashboard, you can view this data on your dashboard also. See this thing is getting populated automatically. We have added some widget. Now this is getting populated automatically. And if you come down, you will see your cumulative flow diagram over here. Looks good. CFD, that's a cumulative flow diagram. So this is how things will start popping up on your dashboard. Okay. So about work items, we saw boards. Now we see backlogs. Now this is the place wherein you will see the backlogs based on sprints, the iterations which you have. Now you have again, so why do we see only user stories everywhere? Because basically you will be working on user story mainly. Your epic and feature is more about the backlog which was created by your Scrum Master. So you don't have to have this view over here. Okay, that's the reason you just see your user stories and task. If you create any task to it, you will have that task also. Okay, because this is the actual thing on which you guys will be actually working on. So how many user stories are going in iteration 1? There are 4 user stories. In iteration 1 there are 4 user stories. Like suppose if I want to move, I can just simply move this way. Now there are 4 with 1 task. If I want to move it to some iteration 2, I can move it this way. What is the iteration? This is your current iteration. This is the date. What is the number of working days we have? We have 10 working days. See this. And if you want to create new iteration, I can simply click on new sprint and now one more iteration will be created. See this, iteration 4. If I want to move something to iteration 4, that I'll be working on iteration 4, you can do it. And if you want to view feature and all, then even that is possible, guys. You can select the drop down, you can select feature. But if you try to move this feature in iteration 1, you'll not see that feature over here, because this iteration is basically tracking your user story and feature. But if you go and open the feature, you can see this is part of iteration 1. Hence we view only user stories. Okay, another set of analytics you can do in this backlog. So basically this will give you complete backlogs of your user story, and if you want to move, you can just do a drag and drop. Okay, and this is basically, if work item, this is all your work items. This board is for all your work items. This board is basically for your tracking your user story, the number of user story you guys have created. This backlog is again for the number of user story and the task, and even having a view in which iteration what exactly is happening. Okay, in analytics you can have again the same flow diagram. This velocity diagram will be created once you start working on iterations. Okay, so even a velocity diagram will be created. Now this is your actual Kanban board. This thing, this print section which you see, and this diagram what you see, the flow diagram, the circle. Remember we have done this diagram flow, what all things we do in this sprint. This is your actual flow. So in iteration 1 I got 4 user stories. So this will only focus on your first iteration. So from Feb 28th to March 5th, whatever we are doing, that thing is visible over here. Okay, so this is where you will be creating task for yourself. Now you have created R&D task. What else we can create? We can have coding done. So you can directly create something task for yourself, and you can assign it to yourself this way. You can change the states. If you want, you can change the state active. It will start moving from left to right. See this. And if you change the state to close, it will start closed. And this is the place wherein people can come and view, like in the current iteration, how many user stories do we have, how many user story has been assigned to XYZ developers, what are the number of tasks which is pending, what are the number of tasks which is closed. So this is an actual place where your Kanban board comes in picture. Okay, now understood the difference between this board and this board, because people tend to get confused what this board is and what this board is. So this is overall giving you a complete insight of your user stories, and this is only talking about your current iterations. If I change the iteration from the top, in iteration 2 I got one user story. In iteration 3 I got one user story. This is how you can play around with iterations. In iteration 4 I have one user story. In iteration 1, this is the current one wherein I have all the user stories. Now if you want to view the backlogs in the current iteration, you can just click on the top, that is backlog, and it will just show you current iteration. See the current iteration. Okay, This is task board and this is backlog. Now this is the capacity planning. If any of your developer is on vacation, example, Monday my sprint is starting and Monday this guy is going on vacation. Okay, and if there's a team off, you guys on the start of the sprint you're going on picnic, team outing. Can we do this? Now see, the number of working days got changed to 9 because the team is not available. Same way you can start assigning activity to this developer. You want him to spend time 2 days in development, and you want to add some more activity. Requirement gathering, you want him to spend 1 day. So this is how your Scrum Master can even do capacity planning for you guys. Based on this capacity planning, there is a burn down chart which gets created. This chart is basically giving you a complete insight on your team sprint progress. Now this is the chart. You can customize this chart, and this is the chart which will be presented in front of everyone. That is the reason I said the number of working hours which you put, that needs to be very, see the sum of remaining hours, this needs to be very thorough. Count of work items, sum of story points, even your story point needs to be, so in only one user story we have kept the story points. So this is all this information. When you start filling up your burn down, you will see a very good looking burn down chart. Number of working days, so based on this, whatever number of capacity remaining, all this you have a nice looking burn down chart which will be eventually created at the end of the sprint. Okay, and if you want this burn down chart to be part of your dashboard, you can put it. Now you guys can see this burn down chart also on your dashboard. See this current sprint burn down chart. Now if anyone wants, any stakeholder wants to view anything, you can simply give this link, give them read access, and they will be able to view all this for you on your behalf. Each day information is given over here, guys. This is how burn down chart comes very handy when you're working with work items. Okay, any questions till now? Anyone? No one? No questions? Okay. Anyone raising hand? No one. Okay. So we talked about backlog, capacity analytics, and like suppose if you go to configuration, there are multiple other things. Like if you want to have your developers start working on Saturday also, then if you'll see, the number of days will increase to 11. Okay, but definitely I don't want my developers to work on Saturdays, so I'll remove this because I do. Okay, don't worry about read access. We'll cover permissions at that time. I'll cover those. Okay, so at the permissions level you can give read access to your boards. So there are different types of permission which you can allocate. One of the permission is read access. Okay, so that is something we'll discuss later when we talk about permissions. Okay, Kishore. Okay, now there is a very important topic, queries. Now queries is something you will be using a lot in work items. Mostly the things which you will do will be playing around with these queries. Now let me give you a scenario. Like suppose you are managing the releases in Azure DevOps. Like you're part of production release cycle and you're managing the releases. And if you want to view in the current release how many user stories are getting deployed, how will you go and see? Will you go in the work items, filter out with the user story? So no, you cannot do that way. Let me tell you, in reality you will have more than 1000 user stories in your work item. You will have more than 500 epics and features in your work items. So the backlog is very huge. And if you think that you'll go inside the backlogs and filter around and do things, so you can do it, but yeah, it will take its own sweet time, 2 hours, 3 hours, just to get the right information. And even then, whether you'll have the right information, no one is aware of. So this queries comes very handy. I am using a lot of these queries, guys, in my current project to view what are the user stories assigned to me, what are the user stories assigned to my team, how many user stories are getting deployed in this current coming release, because there are 5 projects on which I am part of. How many user stories are getting deployed in next release. All this information is very important for me, because based on that I need to create my front end and back end packages. Based on that I'll be making sure the team is deploying the right packages. All this information is very much required for me, so I use this queries a lot. This query is very similar like database query, how you write select statement this and you fetch some data out of it. So same way, just imagine this is pool of work item, and out of this pool of work item, if you want to fetch something, then you need to write your own query. How do you write this query? So it has and and or clause in between with the fields, operator and value. Okay, so and or clause, for currently what exactly it is looking for, work item equals to any. If you want to have active work item, like epic you want, feature you want, then you can query out that way. What is the state? You are selecting the state as any. Now if I run this query, what will happen? Everything will get fetched. See this? We got everything. Whatever we had, everything is getting fetched. Now this is where I have created the CSV. Do you see this export to CSV? This is how this thing was created. Okay, the only thing is, when you export to CSV, make sure this ID thing is removed. When you're migrating, make sure the ID is removed, because if you don't remove the ID, if there is a duplication in ID, it will not let you import. There's a clear error you will see, duplicate IDs. So if you have duplicate IDs, it will not let you import. So this IDs are unique, and if you're getting some work items from any existing project and if there is a mismatch in ID, so make sure when you're exporting it to CSV, remove this ID part. So if you see my Excel, I don't have IDs in it. See, I don't have IDs in it. Okay, so make sure to remove it. Okay, now if you want to filter out, if you want to add some more clause, like suppose assign to my name. If I put my name, see, this much of user stories are assigned. I just want to view user story, I don't want this epic and feature. So I can just go and change the work item to user stories. Where is user story? User story, run. See, only user stories will be visible now. If you want to filter out more, like suppose if you want to add one more add clause, that anything with development tags, then you can, the tags which contains development. See, if you want or clause, so this is end. End means, if you know AND gate and OR gate, guys, AND means both the statements are true, then you get the output. OR means if any of the statement is true, then you get the output. Correct? Are we familiar with AND gate and OR gate? That was taught in schooling, during the schooling, AND gate and OR gate. Okay, so that is what the concept we are using over here. AND gate, like if there are two statements, both the statement needs to be true, then you get the output. OR gate, if any of the statement is true, then you get the output. Now if I want to use the OR clause, and if I want to use a tag called R&D, so what will happen? I get everything with development and I get everything with R&D, as well as if someone has both, then I'm getting both in that also. Similarly, you will have release date. So there was no date feature in this. Accepted date, activity date, and there is a release date. So this is an additional field which you can add. So in your current user story, if you go and view this user story, there is no release date, but eventually you should have a release date over here so that you can fetch data based on release date. Okay, that is something I'll show you later, how to add release date, how to customize your boards. That is something I'll talk about later. For now, let's go back. This is how you will be writing queries, guys. So whatever you can think of, whatever scenario you can think of, you can write queries based on that scenario. Now when you save this query, there are two ways you can save your query. You can write my query. Now there are two folders where this queries can be saved. One is my queries, the other is shared queries. If you keep things in my queries, you will be the only person who can view your queries. No one else can see it. Again reiterating, if you saving your queries in my queries, you will be the only person who can view your queries. No one else can view it. If you want to share this query with your team, then put it in shared queries. Keep this in mind. Okay. Now whatever query you have created, based on this query, if you want to have, let me remove this tags because I want good amount of data. So this is the query which you have. Based on this query, there's a chart which gets created. There are unsaved queries. Let me go back to result, save query. Okay, you can create a chart. You can assign to, you can have bar created, you can stack bar created, you can have pivot table created. So this is, if you want to have chart created, this is how you can create a chart. These are 6 and this is all in active mode. Let me close something, resolve, save it. Let me have this as closed. As soon as you do this, you will have this. Wait. You can play around with the numbers. So it is 6 query. I may have to go and change the query a bit to fetch everything. Assign to status. I can have state all active. If you want, run this query, only one active. Then you can see the chart. There are unsaved queries. Let's go and save it. See, only one active. If you want more to this, I can have or clause. I can have state, wherein if you want closed one, I can have one more or clause. If you want to have state as resolved, I can have one more or clause. I can have state as new. So this is, save this query, run this query, come to this chart now. 52. Now this is filtering out everything. The reason is it is filtering out all the conditions now, all the state conditions. Okay, you can have more specific. You just want user stories and this, then you can have or clause over here also at the top. Right now it is filtering out everything. Now if you want to group all this together, so this is a grouping also you can do. Now you can just group all this together. Let's come back to this editor again. See, if you want, wait. Do you see this? equal to sign, this is nothing but it's a grouping clause. If you want to group it, this is all you can group together. Now you can run the query. See this. This is how the chart will be. Now this is something you can play around with it, guys. So depending upon your requirement, depending upon what exactly you're doing in the company, what is the requirement, based on that you can create your own query and you can share it with you, share it with your team, and plus you can keep it for your reference. And if you want this to be part of your dashboard, even that is possible. Refresh it, you can see this also on your dashboard screen. See this. This is blank because the status are not updated. If I go and update the status, even this will start filling up. Okay, so this was all about queries, guys. Queries plays a very important role when you're working on Azure DevOps and managing your work items over here. Okay. Delivery plan, this is not for DevOps engineer, this is basically for Scrum Masters and for product owner who are managing multiple projects. So as if now I just have one project in this, correct? If I have multiple projects and I want to have one screen wherein I can manage everything, then this is where I can create a plan. I can select the project 1 and I can select project 2, 3, 4, 5. I can even have project 2. There is no project basically, so I cannot select that. But this delivery plan is basically giving you a view of all your projects. Okay, for now, if I want to view all the user story, like overall project, let's name it as overall project. Okay, now imagine there are multiple projects and I just have created. So this is how it will look like. In one screen you will see this project and beneath it you will see other projects. So this is basically for project owner and this is for Scrum Masters because they are managing multiple projects at once. DevOps engineer will be part of one project at a time. So by seeing this they will come to know, okay, in iteration 1 we got 3 user story and this is how they will come to know. And they want to view something, they can simply click on it and they can go to that user story. Okay, now let me give an example of multiple project. Let me see if I can log into my old account. What my password it seems. Oh. Okay, forget about this. I forgot my password it seems. Okay, so whenever you create any delivery plan, you will have multiple projects and you can view user stories from multiple sources. So this is mainly for product owner and Scrum Master. So that's it for work items, guys. I don't want to spend much time explaining work items because most of the task will be done by the Scrum Master themselves. You will be the only person who will be assigned user stories and you will be creating tasks for yourself and you will be writing queries. That is what you will be doing. That is your core roles and responsibility if you talk about work item responsibility. Okay, guys, that's it. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Make sure you go and play around with this work item. I'll be sharing the Excel, the CSV and everything with you guys to go and import and play around with it. Make sure to play around, and the assignments which I have shared, in that assignment you will find multiple assignments based on work items management. Okay, so if you have any questions, any doubt, please do let me know before we wind up the call for today. Anyone? Any questions? Any doubt? This is very simple and straightforward, so I think you should not have any trouble understanding these topics. So this is good to mostly it's a good to know information. Okay, the major task is done by Scrum Master as said earlier. But yeah, if you get opportunity and if your product owner asks you to create epic and feature, so you should be aware what exactly is epic and what is feature. Shall we export the report? Report, you meant to say the query into a CSV?
Yeah, yes, Rohit.
Yeah, we can do it. You can just go to your query, you can, whatever output you're getting, you can export to CSV, you can email, you can copy, whatever you want. I already have an export,
Yeah.
so there's not required, so I'll be sharing this with you guys, don't worry. Okay, anyone else, any other questions, guys? No questions? Okay, thank you very much. Let's meet on Monday, that is IST. For CST and EST is Sunday night, guys, so remember that. Thank you very much. Let's meet on Monday and let's start with build pipeline. Very important topic. We'll be creating our first application and we'll slowly steadily moving to write build pipelines. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Bye bye.